Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the English Speaking Podcast. We're so happy you're here with us today. I'm Olivia, and I'll be practicing real, everyday English with you. English you can actually use in real life, not just in books.
And I'm Daniel. Thanks so much for choosing to spend a little part of your day with us. We really don't take that lightly. So, wherever you are right now, maybe you're commuting, cooking, studying, or just lying on your bed, grab a cup of coffee, tea, or whatever you're drinking and get comfortable.
Because today's conversation is one of those you don't just listen to, you feel it.
Yes, today we're talking about friendship.
And before we go any further, let me ask you something. When was the last time a friend truly made your day better without even trying?
Just their presence, a message, a laugh, or even silence that feels comfortable.
Exactly. Friendship isn't always about big gestures. Sometimes it's just knowing someone is there.
And sometimes it's about having someone who understands your nonsense without any explanation.
Yes, someone who looks at you and says, I know what you're thinking. And you're like, wow, scary but comforting.
Friendship is such a strange, beautiful thing. These people start as strangers and suddenly they become family you choose.
And the funny thing is, no one teaches us how to be friends. There's no manual. We just learn through moments, good ones, awkward ones, and even painful ones.
True. And friendships change as we grow. The friend you laughed with in school might not be the same friend you talk to as an adult.
But somehow, those memories stay. One joke can take you back 10 years.
Yes. And suddenly you're laughing like nothing ever changed.
You know, I think friendship is one of the purest forms of connection. There's no obligation. People stay because they want to.
That's such an important point. Friends don't stay because they have to. They stay because the bond feels right.
And when life gets heavy, and it does get heavy, friends are often the ones who help us breathe again.
Sometimes without advice, just by listening.
Or by saying, okay, now tell me everything, and letting you talk for 40 minutes straight.
Yes, and they don't even check the time. That's real friendship.
And honestly, friendships teach us so much about ourselves.
They show us our strengths and also our flaws.
Like when a friend gently tells you, you overthink too much, and you're like, wow, rude but true.
Exactly. Friends are honest, but in a way that still feels safe.
And that safety, that emotional safety, is everything. Knowing you can be your real self, not a filtered version.
No pretending, no performing, just being you.
And that's why friendship matters so deeply, especially in today's world where everything feels fast and busy.
We're connected online, but true friendship is about connection inside.
And in this episode, we want to talk about that. Real friendships, real feelings, real conversations in real English.
We'll talk about how friendships start, how they grow, how they sometimes break, and how they heal.
We'll share stories, laughs, and moments you might see yourself in.
And as always, we'll keep the language natural, simple, and practical so you can learn English while listening to something meaningful.
Because learning English shouldn't feel boring or robotic. It should feel human.
Just like friendship.
So stay with us, relax, and let this conversation unfold naturally, just like a good friendship does.
And trust us, this is just the beginning.
You know, Daniel, when we talk about friendship, I always think about how some people walk into our lives quietly, without any big announcement.
Yes, and before you realize it, they become the people you call first when something good or bad happens.
Exactly. Like you get exciting news and your fingers automatically type their name before you even think.
Yes, and sometimes you don't even say hello properly. You just start talking.
Haha, straight to the point. That comfort level says everything.
I think real friendship begins when silence stops feeling awkward.
That's such a powerful moment. Sitting together, doing nothing, and still feeling full.
In a world where everyone is rushing, that kind of calm connection is rare.
And friendships aren't always perfect, are they?
Not at all. There are misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and moments where egos get in the way.
But the difference is, with real friends, you don't want to win the argument, you want to protect the bond.
Yes, you choose a relationship over being right.
And that choice takes maturity.
It does, because sometimes your friend doesn't show up the way you expected, and it hurts.
But then you remember, they're human too. fighting their own battles.
And that realization changes everything.
Friendship teaches empathy in the most natural way.
And patience, lots of patience.
Yes, especially when your friend is always late and still says, I'm on my way, while sitting at home.
And you already know the truth, but you forgive them anyway.
Because somehow their presence still feels worth the wait.
And isn't it interesting how friends see versions of us no one else does?
They've seen us excited, broken, confused, confident, sometimes all in the same week.
Yes, and they stay.
That's the part that always gets me emotional.
Me too, because when someone stays during your worst moments, that loyalty leaves a mark on your heart.
And friendship isn't just about sharing happiness, it's about holding space for sadness too.
Sitting next to someone while they cry and not trying to fix everything.
Just saying, I'm here.
Those 3 words can be heavier than 1,000 speeches.
And you know what's beautiful? Sometimes friendships save us without us realizing it.
Yes, a laugh on a dark day, a message at the right moment.
Or a random memory that reminds you that life has good chapters too.
Like those inside jokes that make no sense to anyone else.
Yes, you start laughing and people look at you like, what's wrong with you?
And you just smile because they wouldn't understand.
Those shared memories become emotional anchors.
They keep us grounded when life feels uncertain.
And as we grow older, friendships change shape.
Less time, fewer calls, but deeper meaning.
You might not talk every day, but when you do, it feels like no time has passed.
Yes, same jokes, same energy, same connection.
And that's when you realize real friendship doesn't need constant attention. It just needs honesty and care.
And trust, knowing that even in silence, the bond is still there.
That kind of friendship doesn't shout. It stays quiet, steady, and strong. And honestly, those are the friendships that carry us through life.
When I think about friendship, my mind always travels back to the place where everything felt simpler.
Same here. Hometowns have a special way of holding our earliest friendships like they're frozen in time.
Friends from those days knew us before we learned how to hide our feelings.
Before we learned how to pretend we were strong all the time.
I still remember walking the same streets every evening, meeting friends at the same corner, sitting on old steps, talking about dreams that felt huge back then.
Dreams that made us laugh because we believed anything was possible.
Yes, we wanted to change the world, become famous, travel everywhere, and somehow still be home by dinner.
And those friendships were built on time, not effort.
Just showing up was enough.
There was no pressure to impress anyone.
No filters, no carefully chosen words.
Just real emotions, shared snacks, and long conversations under open skies.
I remember borrowing a friend's bicycle and riding aimlessly, talking about life while the sun slowly disappeared.
Those moments felt endless, like they would never fade.
But life moved forward. People moved away. Responsibilities grew heavier.
And suddenly, those same streets felt quieter.
Friendship changed shape, but its memory stayed alive.
Sometimes one song, one smell, or one old photograph brings it all back.
And your heart feels warm and heavy at the same time.
That bittersweet feeling, it's nostalgia.
It reminds us of who we were and who helped shape us.
Friends from those days saw us fall and get up without judgment.
They were there when we failed our first exam, when we had our first heartbreak, when we felt lost and confused.
And even now, years later, their voices still echo inside us.
Sometimes we wonder if they remember us the same way.
I think they do. Real connections leave fingerprints on the soul.
That's beautifully said.
And friendship also teaches us how to say goodbye without resentment.
Understanding that not everyone is meant to stay forever, but everyone leaves something behind.
A lesson, a memory, a part of ourselves.
Some friendships fade slowly, without drama.
And others end painfully, leaving questions that never get answered.
But even those experiences shape our emotional strength.
They teach us what we deserve and what we need.
And when we meet new friends later in life, we carry all those experiences with us.
We listen more carefully.
We choose more wisely.
We appreciate depth over noise.
And maybe that's why adult friendships feel fewer but heavier in meaning.
They're built intentionally, not accidentally.
And when you find someone who feels like home again,
It's a quiet miracle.
a reminder that connection still exists, even in a busy world.
Friendship evolves, but its essence remains the same, being seen, accepted, and understood.
And somewhere inside, that younger version of us smiles, knowing those early bonds were never truly lost.
And sometimes, Daniel, the strangest thing is realizing that a friend understands your silence better than most people understand your words.
That kind of understanding doesn't come quickly.
It's built over years.
Over shared struggles, shared disappointments, shared hope.
Long-distance friendships often teach us this lesson the hardest way.
Because you don't get instant reassurance anymore.
You don't see their face every day.
You can't read their body language.
All you have is trust.
Trust that they still care even when life pulls them in another direction.
And that trust grows stronger when it's tested.
I've seen friendships survive years without meeting and still feel unbreakable.
Because the foundation was never convenience.
It was sincerity.
And sincerity doesn't disappear with distance.
It actually becomes clearer.
Life transitions can be lonely.
New phases often arrive without instructions.
Suddenly, you're expected to be stronger, wiser, calmer.
Even when inside you still feel unsure.
Friends who stay connected during these transitions become emotional witnesses.
They see your evolution.
They remember who you were before the pressure.
And they remind you of that when you forget.
There's something comforting about a friend who says, "You've always been capable."
Even when you don't feel like it.
Those words land differently when they come from someone who has seen your journey.
Someone who knows how hard you've worked to become who you are.
Friendship also teaches us how to hold space for change.
Accepting that people grow differently.
At different speeds.
In different directions.
And still choosing to care.
That choice is powerful.
It means loving someone without needing them to stay the same.
And that's not easy.
Especially when change creates distance.
Or misunderstanding.
Or moments where conversations feel unfamiliar.
But strong friendships adapt instead of breaking.
They bend without snapping.
Like old trees in strong wind.
Exactly, still standing.
Friends also become mirrors during hard times.
They reflect strength back to you.
Even when you only see weakness.
They remind you of victories you've forgotten.
Of courage you didn't realize you had.
And sometimes they save you simply by asking the right question.
Not, why are you like this?
But, are you okay?
That question opens doors.
It gives permission to be honest.
To stop pretending.
To breathe.
And even when friends don't have solutions,
their presence becomes the solution.
Sitting on a call late at night.
Sending a message that says, "I'm proud of you."
Or, "I believe in you."
Those sentences stay with you longer than advice ever could.
They quietly rewrite the way you see yourself.
Friendship at this stage becomes less about sharing time
and more about sharing emotional safety.
A place where you don't need armor.
Where you don't need explanations.
Just honesty.
And that honesty deepens the bond even further.
You know, Danielle, one of the hardest lessons friendship teaches us is how to let go without turning cold.
Letting go with love is a skill no one teaches us.
We're taught how to hold on.
But not how to release someone gently.
Sometimes friendships don't end with fights.
They fade quietly.
Fewer messages.
Longer gaps between calls.
Until one day you realize the silence has become permanent.
And that realization can hurt in a very quiet way.
Not sharp pain.
More like a dull ache.
The kind that shows up unexpectedly.
When you see something and think, they would have loved this.
Or when a memory suddenly feels heavier than usual.
Letting go doesn't always mean something went wrong.
Sometimes it just means life kept moving.
And people moved at different speeds.
Forgiveness plays a huge role here.
Not just forgiving others.
Forgiving yourself.
For not knowing how to fix everything.
For not saying the perfect words at the perfect time.
For growing in ways that change the dynamic.
Forgiveness in friendship isn't loud.
It doesn't demand apologies all the time.
Sometimes it's silent acceptance.
Accepting that people did the best they could with who they were then.
And so did you.
Becoming the kind of friend you once needed often starts with that understanding.
You remember the times you felt unseen,
Unheard.
or like you had to earn care.
And slowly, consciously, you decide not to repeat that pattern.
You start listening more deeply,
Showing up more honestly.
saying things like, I'm here, and actually meaning it.
You learn that being a good friend doesn't mean being available all the time.
It means being emotionally present when it matters.
Growth changes the way we show up.
We stop performing.
We stop pretending we're okay when we're not.
And ironically, that vulnerability strengthens friendships.
The right people don't run from your honesty.
They lean in.
Quiet emotional growth often looks invisible from the outside.
No dramatic announcements.
No big speeches.
Just subtle shifts.
You pause before reacting.
You choose kindness even when you're tired.
You stop keeping score.
And you stop expecting people to fill every emotional gap.
Friendships become lighter when expectations become healthier.
You allow people to be human,
Flawed.
learning.
Growing.
Sometimes you reconnect with old friends after years,
And the bond feels different, but not worse.
just more mature,
More forgiving.
less demanding.
There's beauty in that.
There's peace in knowing not every friendship needs to look the same forever.
Some are loud and constant,
Some are quiet and steady,
and some exist mostly in memory.
still meaningful.
Still valid.
Becoming the friend you once needed also means offering yourself the same compassion,
Checking in with your own heart.
allowing rest,
Allowing space.
allowing growth without guilt.
Because the healthier you become,
The healthier your friendships become too.
and that realization quietly reshapes everything.
At some point in adulthood, you realize something quietly powerful.
Not all family is related by blood.
Some people earn their place in your life by staying.
By choosing you again and again.
Friendship slowly becomes a form of chosen family.
The kind you don't explain to others.
You just know
They know your routines.
your moods.
The version of you that shows up when no one else is watching.
These are the people who see you change over the years.
And don't expect you to stay the same.
They remember who you were.
But they respect who you're becoming.
Adult friendships rarely look dramatic.
There are fewer long phone calls.
Fewer spontaneous plans.
But the connection runs deeper.
Sometimes love shows up as a simple message.
Did you eat today?
Or drive safe.
Or even just a meme that says, this reminded me of you, haha.
Yes, that's modern love language.
Showing love without words becomes an art.
Sitting quietly together without needing to fill the silence.
Sending food when someone is too tired to cook.
Remembering important dates without reminders.
Not asking questions right away.
Just listening.
Sometimes support looks like distraction.
Laughing when life feels heavy.
Talking about random things when the real topic is too painful.
And friends understand that.
They don't push.
They stay nearby.
Adult life is full of transitions.
New jobs.
New cities.
New responsibilities.
And sometimes loneliness sneaks in quietly.
Not the loud kind.
The quiet kind that shows up at night.
When everyone seems busy building their lives.
That's when friendships become anchors.
You may not talk every day.
But you know they're there.
And that knowing steadies you.
True friends don't compete with your growth.
They celebrate it.
Even when your paths look different.
Even when distance grows.
They adjust.
They adapt.
They make room.
Sometimes adulthood teaches you that friendship isn't about intensity,
It's about consistency.
about showing up when it's inconvenient.
Or checking in even when you're tired.
It's knowing someone's silence doesn't mean disinterest.
It means life is happening.
And you don't take it personally anymore.
You learn patience.
You learn trust.
You learn that love doesn't always need constant reassurance.
Chosen family also means boundaries.
Respecting each other's space.
Not demanding emotional availability at all times.
Allowing friendships to breathe.
That's maturity.
And maturity makes friendships safer.
There's something deeply comforting about knowing someone accepts you as you are now.
Not who you used to be.
not who you're trying to become.
Just you.
Friends become witnesses of your life.
They remember the versions you've outgrown.
They carry pieces of your story.
And sometimes they remind you who you are when you forget.
That's why losing a friendship can feel like losing a part of yourself.
But keeping the right ones.
That feels like coming home.
And in adulthood, that kind of home matters more than ever.
Because the world gets louder,
Faster.
more demanding.
And friendships quietly hold you steady through it all.
There's a moment in adulthood when you realize how rare it is to be truly understood,
Not explained,
not fixed.
just understood.
And the friends who offer that kind of presence become priceless.
They don't rush your healing.
They don't turn your pain into advice.
They sit with it.
Friendship at this stage of life becomes quieter but deeper,
Less about excitement.
more about safety.
These are the friends who notice small changes.
The tone of your voice,
The delay in your replies.
the way you laugh a little less than usual.
And instead of calling you out, they check in gently.
Hey, I'm here.
No pressure.
No expectations.
Just presence.
Sometimes support looks like sitting in silence,
Or watching a show together while neither of you really watches.
or sending a message that says, "You crossed my mind today."
Small gestures, but heavy with meaning.
Friends also carry memories with us.
Old versions of our lives.
Childhood streets.
Shared jokes that don't need explaining.
Moments that shaped who we are.
And when life feels unfamiliar, those memories ground us.
They remind us we've been here before.
That we've survived changes before.
Adult friendships teach patience.
People get busy,
Life pulls in different directions.
but true connection doesn't disappear.
It waits.
It stretches.
It adjusts without resentment.
And when you finally reconnect, it feels natural, like no time was lost.
Friends also hold space for who you're becoming.
Even when they don't fully understand the journey,
They trust it,
they trust you.
and that trust gives you courage.
Courage to change.
Courage to rest.
Courage to be honest about what you can and cannot give.
There's something healing about being allowed to show up imperfectly
To say, I don't have the energy today.
and still feel accepted.
Friendship becomes a soft place to land.
A reminder that you don't have to carry everything alone,
Even when words fail.
even when answers don't exist. Some friends save us quietly,
Without realizing it.
just by staying.
And sometimes, that's everything.
Sometimes life just hits harder than we expect, doesn't it?
Yeah, you wake up one morning and it feels like the weight of the world is sitting on your chest.
Everything, work, responsibilities, relationships, suddenly feels heavy, and even the things you used to love don't spark the same joy anymore.
And that's when burnout really sinks in. It's quiet at first, subtle. You think, I can handle this. But slowly, every day feels like trudging through mud.
Even smiling can feel exhausting, laughing almost impossible. You start to hide behind a mask because it seems easier than explaining.
And that's when a friend, just one person, can quietly change everything.
Exactly. The friend who notices, not the friend who tells you to snap out of it or just relax. The one who simply sees.
And that's enough, isn't it? To know that someone sees the real you, the tired, fragile, human you, even when you don't have the energy to see yourself.
I remember this one time I was completely drained, exhausted in every sense. I hadn't spoken to anyone for days, barely leaving my room, and then a text.
What did it say?
Something so simple, yet so profound. "Hey, I was thinking of you. Want to grab a coffee?"
That's it?
That's all, just the offer. And somehow my world shifted. That small, unassuming message reminded me I wasn't alone, that someone cared enough to just be there.
It's incredible how the smallest gestures, texts, calls, shared songs, even silence can feel like life rafts.
And it's funny, isn't it? We expect grand gestures to save us, but often it's the quiet constancy of friendship, the steady presence that does.
Like a lighthouse during a storm. You don't have to fight the waves alone because you know there's someone shining their light, even if you can't see it clearly.
And sometimes it's not even advice or words, just sitting together, sharing a cup of tea in silence, laughing at the dumbest things, laughing so hard you almost forget the exhaustion, even if just for a moment.
Yes, those moments are gold. It's like your soul remembers how to breathe again.
And the beauty of it is, it's reciprocal. Sometimes in our lowest, we show up for someone else too, even when we feel empty.
That's true. You realize friendship isn't just about being there for the good times or even the fun, lighthearted moments. It's about showing up when it's hardest, when words fail, and when life feels unbearably heavy.
And it's these moments that define friendships, isn't it? When exhaustion and stress could push you apart, but instead, you stay. You care quietly. You love without needing applause.
That's exactly it. And there's this unspoken trust in deep friendship. You don't have to explain every tear or every panic. They understand your silences. They honor your space.
And in that quiet, you start to reconnect with yourself. You start to remember the person you were before the burnout. Slowly, gently, you begin to feel alive again.
Like small sparks rekindling a fire inside you. And sometimes one friend is enough to bring back a whole sense of balance.
And I love how friendship during these moments isn't flashy. It's not about gifts or grand gestures. It's about consistency, reliability, and love that doesn't demand anything in return.
Yeah, being seen, being heard, being held in that quiet way. It's life-saving in ways people often underestimate.
And the funny thing is, those moments of shared vulnerability create the strongest bonds. You laugh, you cry, you complain about life, and then weeks or months later, you look back and think, wow, we really carried each other through that.
Yeah, exactly. And somehow, even in the middle of emotional chaos, you start to grow. You learn patience, empathy, and what it really means to love someone without conditions.
And isn't that what adulthood is all about? Finding these friends who become your chosen family, the ones who anchor you in stormy seas, the ones who know you better than you know yourself.
And realizing that you've become that friend for someone else too, that you can quietly save someone just by showing up.
And then, one day, you sit back and see your life differently. You see all the people who lifted you when you couldn't lift yourself, and you realize that friendship, real friendship, is one of the most sacred, life-giving things we can ever experience.
It's true. A friend can be a lifeline, a mirror, a therapist, a shoulder, a confidant, all rolled into one.
And so, to anyone listening today, if you're tired, if you feel unseen, if the world is heavy, know this. There is someone who sees you. There is someone who is silently holding space for you. And maybe, just maybe, you are that person for someone else too.
Exactly. And the magic is in the quiet moments, the shared laughter over nothing, the understanding nod, the message that simply says, I'm here.
And when those moments happen, they slowly bring you back to yourself. They remind you of your worth, your strength, your capacity to feel and to love.
Friendship is the gentle pull that keeps us tethered to hope, to life, to our better selves.
And that's why it's worth cherishing. Every laugh, every shared silence, every memory, every tear, it all matters.
So today, whether you reach out to a friend, reply to a text, or just send a small note, remember, it could be the spark that keeps someone afloat.
And if you're listening, know that you are that spark for someone else too. Your presence, your care, your laughter, it matters more than you realize.
And in the end, friendship teaches us patience, resilience, and love in its purest, quietest form. It's messy, it's beautiful, and it saves us in ways we often don't notice until much later.
From all of us here on the English Speaking Podcast, thank you for spending this time with us, for opening your heart, and for letting friendship fill it just a little bit more today.
Keep showing up, keep caring, keep laughing through the tears. And don't forget, you are loved, seen, and enough exactly as you are.
Until next time, friends, let your friendships breathe, grow, and anchor you. And remember, the quiet power of being truly seen is one of life's most profound gifts.
Goodbye for now, but may your days be full of small sparks, deep laughter, and the comforting presence of friends who never let go.
See you next time, and take care of your heart as much as you take care of your friendships.